Hey guys, this is Matt from SRS Fleets. I'm going to talk to you today about building a good all-round cruiser. Now this video tutorial assumes some basic knowledge of Star Trek Online and how to build a ship, the various weapon positions and so on, but we'll try not to make it too detailed. As you can see, I've chosen the Fleet Exploration Cruiser. This is also known as the Andromeda, which you can get from the C-Store here. It's a good all-round ship. It's capable of some pretty impressive damage output, and it's extremely tough and tanky if you build it right. So let's just have a look at what we've got and why we've got it. So going to the 4 weapons, using mostly crit D times 4 now. For those of you that don't quite understand the modifiers, the modifier of a weapon is the bit that comes after its description. So here we see Phaser Beam Array Mark 14, CRTD times 4. Now, CRTD means critical severity. Critical severity is the amount of extra damage or bonus damage that your weapons can do if it crits, if you get a critical hit. And the critical hit is determined by your crit chance and any crit chance on the actual weapon. So for example, if we look at stats on my build here, has a 18.3% critical chance and a crit severity of 121.4. So what that means is that on this beam here, because it's crit D times 4, I'm going to get 4 lots of the standard crit severity bonus, which is 20%. So 4 lots of 20% gives 80%, and if you look at the bottom of that description there, it says plus 80% crit severity. Now some people would say that these are the best that you can get in the game. At ultra rare, if it goes to epic, then you get an AC damage modifier to it as well, and a little bit more DPS, but not very much. One point here, upgrading a weapon to epic is insanely expensive. Do not even attempt it unless you're just crazy rich. By far and away the best way is to buy an epic weapon at say Mark 6, Mark 7, somebody's already made off the exchange, if it's got the modifiers that you like, and then upgrade it that way. It's far cheaper. A typical example would be about 200,000 dilithium and about 100 million EC for each weapon to go from ultra rare to epic, unless you are very lucky. Anyway, back to the tutorial. So on this ship I've got crit D times 4 weapons, and I'm using 7 beams on the ship, 3 at the fore, 4 at the aft. And what goes well with that is a torpedo, and I'm using the neutronic torpedo, which I believe is probably the best torpedo in the game at the moment. You get it from the reputation system, from the Delta reputation system, and it's certainly worth upgrading to Mark 14. If it goes ultra rare, then that's a bonus, but I wouldn't fret too much if it doesn't, as long as you've got it at Mark 14. This torpedo does huge damage, but mostly if you use it on torpedo spread. It's not that impressive on high yield, it's much better on torpedo spread, and torpedo spread 3 is just epic. Unfortunately this ship doesn't allow me that option, not if I want to use fire at will as well. We'll come to that shortly. So we've got the weapons, and then we need to look at what set do we put on. And we say what set, I mean deflector, impulse engines and shields. Now it used to be the case that the Borg set, which is the one I'm using on here, was the go-to set. There was nothing to compete with it, nothing to touch it. it's still very, very good. I'm leaning now more toward the Iconian set, and I'm certainly going to be getting that for one or two of my characters. But let's just concentrate on this one because a lot of people already have it or have some pieces of it, and it's quite easy to get because you probably have done the Omega reputation a long time ago, which is this one here, which is where you get the all the Borg gear from. The nice thing about the Borg set is its two-piece bonus. If you look on the description now and go down to the bottom, you'll see part of set assimilated Borg technology, 2 of 3. Now that means that I have 2 pieces of this 3-piece set. You can see the ones that are highlighted are the engines and the deflector array. I don't carry the shield. I've got it, but I don't use it. It's not a particularly good shield, and there are far better shields available to use. And I don't really need the 3 set bonus, which is the assimilated tractor beam, although it's a good tractor beam, but it's got a long cooldown. The important thing is set 2, autonomous regeneration sequencer. This provides a significant hull heal. It's random. It doesn't always happen when you want it to happen, but it does happen quite often, and it is a very good hull heal. So the Borg set is still worth getting for that heal alone. It also got a few nice other features on it as well, but there are other sets that can improve on that. The shield that I'm using is the Elite Shield. Up until now, the Elite Fleet Adaptive Resilience Shield is probably the best shield in the game. There are several versions of it, 3 versions of it, but the 2 that you want to be looking at are the ones that have got the modifier Res B and Res A. Now, the Res B one, which I've got here, I specifically chose for its resistance to plasma damage, because I do a lot of STFs and the Borg use plasma weapons. The nice thing about this shield is that it has a stacking damage adaptation. So adaptive shielding gains 1 charge each time your shield's hit, and it increases your shield's resistance to incoming damage by 2% for 30 seconds. You can have a maximum of 10 charges, so you can get 20% resistance there to plasma damage, which is quite nice. It also reduces a default 15% plasma, disruptor and antiproton. The other version of this shield is the Res A, which is this one here, and that deals with phaser, polaron or tetrion. So if you're doing some PvP and you're up against another Fed ship that's using phasers, it would be a good idea to equip that shield rather than the Res B. But they're very, very good shields, and you can get them from the Fleet Starbase, providing that your fleet is high enough up. I think it's tier 4, I think, but don't quote me on that. The warp core is also quite important, and there are many, many different varieties of warp core. I would go for the ones from the Fleet Spire. These are the plasma integrated warp cores. Or if you're in a Romulan ship, you want to go for the Thoron infused, same thing. The key thing here is it has a plus 66% power transfer rate, and also AMP. AMP is really important. It means that for each subsystem that you have, that's your weapons, shields, auxiliary, engine, each one of those that's 75 power or more, you get an additional 3.3% damage. So if you could get all 4 subsystems, you'd get 4 times 3.3%, which is 13.2% additional damage. It's a really good core. If you go for the Iconian core as part of the Iconian set, I'm told that once you upgrade it to ultra rare, it will actually gain the AMP modifier. I've not done it myself yet, but everybody says that's what it gets. So you don't have to lose out on AMP by going with the Iconian set, or any other set for that matter. Let's have a look at some devices. A subspace field modulator is quite a handy one. It gives you a good damage resistance boost and defense boost. It's free, it's from one of the Davidian Arc missions. If you've got a Delta recruit, you can pick up the Temporal Negotiator, which works once every 5 minutes, got a 5-minute cooldown, but it does give a 50% cooldown for all bridge officer powers. Not captain abilities, but bridge officer powers. Red matter capacitor, you get that from the collector's edition of Star Trek Online. Unfortunately, they've never released it in the C-store, and I don't think they ever will. So this one you can get easily. This one you can get if you've got Delta Recruit. This one is very hard to get nowadays. Jevonite, prototype ablative Jevonite hardpoints. What these do is they add plus 100 points to structural integrity for 900 seconds. That's 15 minutes. The way they work is they increase your hull. If you look at my hull here, it's 101,000. If I activate these, let's put it into the tray. I'll find it. It's probably the prototype that I was thinking of, J for Jevonite. Okay. Let's stick it in this tray here. Right, I'll activate one of these now. Now look at the hull now, 119,000. That is a big hull. I do have a Jem'Hadar Dreadnought carrier that I've got at 135,000. But that's because it's a tank. This is tanky, but it's not specifically built to be a tank. So that's the devices. These you can buy from the exchange, they're quite cheap. You can also make them yourself if you pick up Jevonite and you do the Duty Officer mission. So they're quite nice to get. I usually buy 50 or 100 at a time and use them if I'm going into an advanced STF or PvP, something like that. Come to our engineering consoles. Another thing that boosts the hull on this ship are these deuteronium alloys. These are brilliant. You get these from the fleet mine, get them at Mark 10, and then upgrade them to Mark 14. There's a chance then they might go epic, but if it doesn't matter. But you've got more chance of going Mark 10 to Mark 14 and buying them at Mark 12. Also, they're a lot cheaper at Mark 10, so it's the most cost-effective way to get them is at Mark 10. You'll notice that the mod on this one, modifier, is plus HP, so there's something else that adds to my hull. There's another one. And another. So I've got 3 lots of neutronium alloy, which gives me quite nice resists, 53%, 53.4% on everything. I could even put 2 more on there and it will go up to about 60, 62%, something like that. But I don't need that much resist or that much hull. It's already quite a lot. This is the actual special console that you get with the ship, so I'm not going to talk about that. It's not particularly brilliant. It's not bad. It's got a really pretty effect. Does do some damage if you're in a big crowd of let's say heralds or Borg spheres. It's quite nice to use in Hive Onslaught Advanced, but other than that, it's not particularly necessary on this ship. Another nice little console you can get is the again from the Amiga reputation, it's the assimilated module. Gives you a little boost to your crit chance and crit severity, a nice boost to crit severity actually, and plus 5 weapon power. It also works with the kinetic cutting beam to give you an Amiga weapon amplifier, which basically every so often it will give you a big protection on your weapon power, so your weapon power doesn't drop. But I would never put it on just for that. Going to our science consoles, looking at the exotic particle field exciter. It's a really nice crafted console. You can only put 1 on the ship. You can make these yourself. If you've got science in, I think 15, level 15 R&D, or buy them off the exchange. Again, the modifier is very important. EPS is the one you want to be looking for if you're going for fire at will with lots of beams, which I am. EPS basically allows your power to recover very quickly. So every time you fire a beam, you're using X amount of weapon power. But there's small pauses in between firing the beam. You want that weapon power back up quick. So the higher your power transfer rate using EPS mods, the faster you're going to be able to recharge your weapon power and the more damage you're going to do. And if you look here, you'll see my power transfer rate is 325%. For a fire at will beam boat, 300 plus is great. I don't think you need to go above 400, but it's quite possible to get it much higher than this. There's a point where you reach a diminishing return and it's really not worth investing any more EPS into it. A couple of consoles here which I really like. These are Lobby stores items. So to open the Lobby store you need some Lobby crystals. So if you open the Lobby store, you can see all these weapons and consoles. Some of them are brilliant, some of them are absolutely rubbish, and some are mediocre. The two that I've got, binaural infusion circuits and tachyokinetic converter, really good. Another one you might want to look at is the Bounty Hunter's Friend, which gives good energy damage resistance, adds quite a bit to your starship emitters, and has got another nice weapon power reduction, cost reduction minus 10%. Nice console, that one. I've got it on a couple of other ships. So let's see what they do. Tachyokinetic converter gives you a good boost to your turn rate. Now don't forget this is base turn rate. So if you've got a 10 base turn rate and you're getting 33%, it's only going to increase it by 3%. But nevertheless, it's an extra 3%. If you're in an escort, this is great. You're going to get if you've got a 20 turn rate, you're going to see a good 6 or 7 degrees per second increase there. It also gives you another 1.1% crit chance and 11.2% crit severity. Wherever you can boost your crit chance, try and get it up. It's difficult on Feds, it's much easier on Romulans because they have a built-in boost to crit chance on Romulan players and Romulan bridge officers. Not all of them, but a lot of them. Whereas Federation is really much more difficult. Same with Klingon. The other console I really like is the binaural infusion circuits. Again, gives a good boost to structural integrity. It helps get this hull up to big figures like that. Look, it's still at 119. Those Jevonites still working away there. So you get a good boost to your hit points. It does affect subspace decompiler, which is basically for things like tricobalt mines or torpedoes, and what it does there is it basically increases the duration of the lockout that those shockwaves form from tricobalt devices. It also helps viral matrix, things like that. But I'm not using it for that on the ship. I've got it on there mainly to boost my hit points and to give me a massive 23.8% crit severity boost, which is one of the reasons my crit severity is at 121 here. Don't forget these are unbuffed. When you buff up, these values rise. Two really good, highly recommended consoles. You won't go wrong with those two. If you're going to buy any from the Lobby store, they are well worth the money. And then that brings us to the tactical consoles. Really there's no other option on these, it's just locators. If you're already running a very high crit chance, you might want to think about putting on some exploiters, which will lower your crit chance very slightly but increase your crit severity a lot. So what that means is that we've got more chance now to do damage, and when we do damage, we get much bigger bonus damage. So the severity gives you the bonus damage, the chance gives you the chance of getting the bonus damage. You need the two have to work together. So if you've got like 40% crit chance on a Romulan ship, for example, and only 100% crit severity, then I'd say get rid of the locators and put some exploiters on. Get it down to say 33% crit chance and get your severity up to 150. You're going to see a lot more damage. On this particular ship, it only has 3 tactical consoles, although that's not too bad. It will do some pretty good damage, and these consoles do go to epic very quickly. They don't cost very much. It's nothing like the weapons. You can definitely upgrade those to epic. I find they often flick over at 5 or 10% rarity chance. So 3 of those on there will give us the damage, and each one gives us 1.9% crit chance, which adds up here. So that's the equipment that I've got on the ship, and then we need to go and see what I'm actually doing with it.